Okay, good morning, digital applications, and welcome back. I haven't given you a video since we returned from spring break, but I did give you guys an assignment. So I wanted to talk to you about that for just a second. Some of you have already turned this in, so that's good. And I assume that you read the instructions completely. I do apologize. I wrote a lot, but I felt like it was important to kind of set the scene. I do want to take just a second to highlight, and I hope those of you who turned it in, read this line and took it seriously. I do not want you to go and answer all of these questions, okay? I ask you to pick between 3 and 5 of these topics. Okay, just pick the ones that make the most sense to you, that inspire you, that are easiest to respond to. Pick 3 to 5 and just create a paragraph response to each of those topics. I'm not necessarily looking for great paper structure. If you're an upperclassman, I encourage you always to be working with your good structure. So if you want to, I'm talking about like intros and conclusions and transitional sentences and such like that. But that's not the focus of the paper. I'm really just looking for some honest and in-depth kind of reflection on the topics. Also just to make sure that you are doing proper spelling and grammar check at the end of your paper and stuff like that. So that's all written there. Go ahead and give me that response. I'm really looking forward to hearing how you guys respond to this. It's curious to me. I think it's important right now for us to take opportunities to reflect on what such a big kind of change in our life means. Without any further ado, today what I wanted to do was demonstrate here in Word 365 we have this dictate button, okay? And I mean, I would encourage you guys to play with this, to try it out, but I'm just going to kind of show you, because what I want to do is I want to give you guys like a solid set of text that we can make some changes to, and so we're going to be doing that with the next assignment. But I want to, somehow I want to get that text to you, and I figured I would kind of demonstrate how this dictation works. So they have this dictate button, and when you click it, it's going to put this little dictate icon in the middle of your screen. You'll see that there's some settings that you can do over here. You can change your spoken language. If you want to test yourself in Spanish and your pronunciation, might be there probably are better ways to do that, but if you're curious. And there's a helper tool here which opens up this help window along the right hand side. It tells you how to use it. The key here is understanding that certain phrases it will recognize. Many of you are possibly used to this when you're working with your cell phones. If you do text to speak, I use text to speak a lot. My wife does as well. That you can say specific punctuation and we'll put it in there. So I'm going to try this out. I'm going to start by just kind of dictating it and showing you how I do that. And I think what I might do is I might try to test it to see how quickly it can keep up with me, or how well it can keep up with me when I'm speaking at a normal pace. So, all right, let's go. Social media today. New line. Social media is a form of online communication using web-based tools such as blogs, social networking sites, online communities, and virtual game worlds, period. Users can use backspace. It's going to type backspace and everything else that I write right now. Blah. So We found a limit here. I'm going to pause my dictation. I'm going to go back. So if I misspeak, I have to make sure that I interrupt it. So I need to make sure that I'm paying close attention while I'm doing this dictation to what's actually being written. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do that. The other thing is, while I'm paused, we have some hyphenated words and some suggestions that we can look at. You can see that it's still doing kind of grammar check while we work on this. Online communities, we are going to change this right here. All right. So let's try this again. Users can send messages and share pictures, comma, news, comma, and status updates with friends, comma, family, comma, and every strangers, period. Social media tools, comma, such as Facebook and Twitter, comma, have drastically changed how we communicate, period. The World Wide Web has an open a cyber sphere so big that the social media tools available are endless, period. Social media keeps people connected and up to date on what is happening in the world, period. The use of social media tools makes interacting in real time possible without actually being face to face with another person. New line. All right, so I'm going through, I'm trying to speak at a certain pace. Obviously I'm noticing that, there are times when I misspeak or I misread the text. And without stopping the dictation, I can just use my mouse and keyboard to go and make some changes and click into the new spot, where I want to continue the dictation. So I can kind of be working with my keyboard and my voice at the same time, which is kind of neat. New line is a phrase that it recognizes that will drop me down to a new line. That's very useful for writing papers. It's hard. I'm noticing that it's difficult when I'm reading because I'm paying attention to the text I'm reading. So I'm reading some text here. And I'm not paying 100% attention to what's on the screen. So I think to that end, I do have to be, kind of checking back and forth to make sure that the words are coming up correctly. Or I can do the other strategy, which would be just to dictate the whole paper and then just commit to going back and proofreading, which you should do anyways. Okay? All right. So I'm going to do one more paragraph. I'm going to do this kind of like a speed test and see how quickly I can speak and whether or not the dictation will keep up. So let's try this out. Even a friend homesick can experience the excitement of a homecoming game through tweets, comma, status updates, comma, and photo sharing without actually being at the game in person, period. Businesses also use social media to reach customers, and many people rely on a social media for real-time news, period. New line. Wow, looked pretty good. All right, so here we've got a tool that we now have available to us with writing papers, dictation. And for some of you, we're in digital applications where I'm trying to stress the importance of good typing skill, right? And I do think that good typing skill is really important. Not all things have a dictation mode. Even when I'm dictating, there are times when typing is going to be preferred. And so, we still need to make sure that we're maintaining those skills. But, I'd be remiss if I didn't, explain that, like, this is a very valuable tool for folks who do have a hard time typing at a quick pace at the same speed as their thought. This dictation tool would be a great way for you to get your thoughts onto a page, in a very quick way that you could go back and you could format later. So you can use this. And, I think that there's lots of different ways where dictation is going to continue being useful for us as we continue on with new technologies. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to dictate the rest of the paper. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take that paper and I'm going to share that bare bones text with you, and I'm going to ask you all to apply a lot of the things that we've gone through with all of the word assignments to this one document again, but kind of using your own, giving you some flexibility with your own touch a little bit, so that you can show me what you can do kind of creatively with the paper, and kind of bring all the things we've learned together. That is then going to become kind of our final project for Word, which will transition us into the next thing that we're going to learn, which I believe we will be working on PowerPoint in Office 365. Okay, so here comes the pause. That wasn't the pause. Here's the pause. Okay, so I got through the whole paper and I'm pretty happy with the dictation, but it is really important that you go back over and double check when you've completed it. For example, I found most of the time it did get my punctuation, but right here it actually put the word comma instead of a comma. So that was an error from the dictation. So you need to make sure that you kind of go through and check these different, proofread it and make sure that it translated it correctly. Here where it says actually being, I'm going to open some suggestions. And it's telling me that this is not the greatest phrase. Use more concise language, but I'm going to stick to the text here. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to ignore that here as well. So we can continue kind of going through and checking those different things. Online, should that be 2 words or should that be hyphenated? In this context, we're looking at making that a single word. Okay, so we have to go through and just make sure that everything actually came out the way we intended it to. Okay, so for this assignment, we're going to do things a little bit differently. The first thing that I want you to do when you receive this document is I want you to go ahead and open up your header and put in your first and last name. All right, we're going to put digital applications in the middle. If I can spell it correctly. And Cifaldi. Actually, we'll do the date up here. Okay. Down at the bottom, we'll go ahead and we'll do our insert and we'll put in our page number in the bottom right hand corner. Okay. Once you have that header and footer information in there, this time instead of walking you through the steps, I'm going to instead give you a rubric, a list of things that you need to accomplish. Follow through it systematically to make sure that you do all of the changes, and communicate with me when you have any errors or questions. Okay? All right. Good luck and goodbye.